Don't mind us. Bless this mess, okay?
Oh no,
Yeah.
There's the mess.
This is when the mad science happens, okay? And I'm mad. I'm so mad about science. Sick. Oh, the devil. We're setting up for a metal band. The chuggy doos and the thwomp thwomps and the...
Let's open up this pit!
It's a little bit of a different setup. I'm getting the drums ready right now. I might not set them all up since we're talking to you. And I value your time. So what's different than normal is, if you know me, I'm kind of a creature of habit when it comes to some of this stuff. I switched back to the M88 on kick out. So kick in will still be a 91, as it always is. They're fantastic. I try to get it on this pillow pretty close to that front head because I want the presence and the click kind of out of this. The M88 just has like this thunderous chest frequency without being too dull. And then the JZ is just a killer, like sub mic. And that trio works so well together. I'm switching out the Loughton tom mics for DM20s. I mean, you could use either here and it would be fine. The DM20s are not good at rejecting bleed, not nearly as good as the Loughtons, but they've got just some kind of like difference in the top end attack, where the Loughtons have this kind of really cool, kind of like a tame transient already, in what you want to do with a tom on a rock record or a country record. Like a little bit of, it's hard to explain, where this just has this a really strong transient, a very strong transient, and just a thunderous clean low end all the way down. So those kind of toms on a metal record are key. Right now I've got the snare mic. First snare, this will be perfect. It is going to saturate, but that's exactly what I want. Switching out to the KSM32 for bottom, because I just like a bigger condenser sound on the bottom end for a metal record. It just kind of bounces back a little bit, because we're going to be so down-tuned and so thuddy on that top. This is where the life is going to come back in that snare. Same overheads as always, 013 tubes. I'm probably going to lift them a little higher, bring them a little farther forward. The difference will be we're using spot mics. So these are the 013 FETs. These are going to be on probably whatever accents we have. Ride bell, definitely one's going on the China. The other one will float around wherever it needs to float. And then the coupe in the grass, the coupe de gras, the Neil deGrasse is this guy right here. The harmonica mic on the floor right there. So delightfully trashy. Like your mom. Vocals, here's what we're doing. We're gonna go a dual mic setup, because this is kind of like, there's some sung parts and there's some screamy parts. So we're gonna go with the Eden on like the C800 setting, and then pair that with an SM7B, which I need to bring back in here on a cloud lifter. I'm gonna switch back and forth on each one of these sections so we're physically on a different mic, but I love an SM7 on screams. Guitars is where stuff gets interesting. All the sound insulation in here is left over from the build, but it kind of helps in this situation, so I'm gonna leave it. Ignore it, it's gross. I'm gonna fix that. 2 main cabs for this. Is this band, the guy in it, we kind of listen to a lot of the same music, and he has kind of the same interest in metal production as me. So super interesting when he's like, I love the sound of Josh Middleton IRs. I have a Mesa oversized that's just a few serials off of Josh's, and I have those IRs. So I pulled it up, and actually you heard this too. They're pretty darn close.
Very cool.
I like mine a little better, but the same thing with the Mesa oversize 2001 top right SM57. It's pretty dang close. Killer metal cab. They're just so balanced. The lows and the highs just kind of roll off in a very natural way on these cabs for some reason, which if you went and got like a brand new Mesa cab with brand new vintage 30s, that is not the case. The other thing we're using is the fried egg audio. Think of it as rhythm, lead. Ultimately, what'll probably just be happening is like one's on the left, one's on the right. They're similar. Like this is a much more hi-fi present thing, where that is just a metal monster. That said, I love how they both play together. So 57s on one of those speakers, and then on the other side I like to mix it with something different. In this case, the Soyuz 1973, which is one of the most balanced microphones you can get on a guitar cab. It's so good. I think Sweetwater did a shootout of this with a few guitar players and Sean Dealey over in their studio, and I think they came to the conclusion that this was their favorite out of like things that were much more expensive, and it's a killer mic. We have a Soyuz 023 on this speaker, which paired with the 57 is just how we're making that all work on the guitar side is actually kind of interesting. We don't really know what's going to happen after it leaves here. I could be mixing it. More than likely, someone way better than me at mixing is going to be mixing this. So I'm kind of prepping things and thinking about house cleaning, knowing, or assuming rather, that I'm not going to be finishing it. So it has to be easily consumable by whoever gets this next. Guitar player uses a lot of amp sims and a lot of cab sims and stuff, but wanted to really commit to something. So we need printed cab tones in the moment. We're gonna have a lot more heads than just the Archon here. We're gonna have a couple Mesas, and then we think we're bringing a Friedman in. Besides all of that, we need amp DIs. So DIs after the amp, before the cab. We also need guitar DIs before the amp. So I've got a couple here set up. The AEA, which is my guitar, my guitar is going straight into this, and then that's going to the amp. That splits off into a preamp. The Countryman after the amp. Now, never ever run your tube amp just into a DI, because you will start a fire. But if you also hook the other end of that DI up to a cab, now your amp sees a load and you're fine. And now the line out of that DI is just hearing your amp. So kind of like a poor man's load box is how you can think of it. But I can also get cab tones. All that stuff. That's 6 different channels if you were keeping track. 2 cabs mic'd with 2 mics, then 2 DIs. It gets hairy. So what I've done is I've set up a couple auxes here to catch all this information. And what I find when I'm doing cabs, even if I'm using a handful of microphones, I'm not changing the balance. I find something I like and that's where it is. So those things are always exactly with each other. So I'm like, I could just commit these down to a mono track. So if you see up here, I've got my fried egg coming in on those channels, but the output is being sent to cab mono. The same thing with my Mesa cab, that's being sent to cab mono. I have this cab print aux, which is accepting cab mono, that gives me a pan pot. I have my guitar DI that's going out bus LS and my amp DI going out bus RS. I then set up a quad track to accept a quad bus. Stay with me. What is happening? My cab print is going out bus stereo. So if I'm on my Mesa cab here, all that is going into that quad track. The beauty here is I can shift this. Now it's on the left. Now it's on the right, and it's printing like that. You can always explode out that quad track if you need to get in there. What this is doing for me is we have a dedicated cab tone, but it also carries with it every DI for each track, and I don't have to even think about it. I just arm one track and go. I don't even have to think about what cab I'm on. I just mute the one I'm not on. Because if I don't, you get room sound. If I mic the one I'm actually using, it's still there. So we could use it if we wanted to. But the other part of this, like if we want to break this out, now I'm just soloing the amp DI and using some of my favorite impulses, which are the Josh Middleton, because we have cabs that are a couple serials away. I'm using the exact same top right speaker, angled cab, 57, right on the cone. I'm going to shift back and forth here. Pretty darn close. The thing I like is we have the flexibility to use IRs if we want to. We have the flexibility to change amps if we want to, but we have that dedicated cab sound. And there's something like, even with the best impulse response, you're not going to get with a cab, because a cab is like this moving physical thing. If I hit it with a ton of low end, the box kind of breathes. That does not happen on an IR. Like, you can kind of hear it like in the room. I hope you guys can hear it too, but it's kind of like, it's like breathing a little bit. Those little tiny things of just that little aspect of real is what makes a record sound like so insanely dynamic and relatable, as opposed to just being digital. And there's nothing wrong with making a record that way either, but that's just not what we wanted to do. So this is a way of keeping all of those tracks crazy tidy. And so I'm curious if anybody else in any other DAW, because you can do this in any DAW, it doesn't just have to be Pro Tools, but using something like a quad track, not in the essence of what a quad track is supposed to be used like. Oh, and I should mention too, I'm using trim plugs to just get rid of information that I don't want. Because if I get rid of my trim, now you're hearing everything. I wish you just saw Josh's face.
That was gross.
It was. So what the heck is happening here? Like, by default, a trim plugin is linked here. So we have our left, right, left surround, right surround, all at 0. But what I've done, I have my left and my right turned all the way up because my cab print is going to the stereo. So if I have this all the way left, it's just going to be in that left speaker. Same thing with the right. So if I keep both of those lanes open, it'll print to whatever side I want. My left side and my right side, which are my amp DI and my guitar DI, are muted. They're still there. They're still available. I can still use them, but they're just muted. So it'll always record all channels. So like if I'm using my Mesa cab, my fried egg is open, it will record those channels. So I have to physically mute that if I don't want my fried egg. But then I can switch. And I guess if you're curious, we can show them what the fried egg sounds like too. Because I freaking love that cab. The Mesa is just so ubiquitously metal. But having these two flavors, you like my amp switching? Kahayan, let's make a deal, huh? Or anybody making an amps cab switcher, please help me with my spaghetti. Well, this would definitely be like your lead. I can't play. Way more aggressive, way more like hi-fi clarity as opposed to the Mesa, which is just a rolling monster of death. That's how I'm getting over some weird, complicated stuff. Sending files to other people, but then using like the comments to be like, hey, this is on this channel of this. And all they have to do is explode that out and they can access whatever they want. So, and everything's phase aligned. There's no chance of it getting lost. It's just there. If you guys dig this and you want to see how we're using it in context, I think we're going to be doing some fly on the walls with this band. Until then, Google thinks you'll like this one, but subscribe because it's coming. Okay, bye.